Hello. Today we will be discussing one of my favorite composers, Marc Adamo. Marc Adamo is a New Jersey native and has mainly composed and lived in the New Jersey, New York area. After attending Holy Cross High School in New Jersey, Adamo began his schooling at the Tisch School of the Arts at New York University. He received the Paulette Goddard Remarque Scholarship for Outstanding Undergraduate Achievement in Playwriting in his freshman year. In 1990, he earned a Bachelor of Music degree cum laude in composition from the Catholic University of America, as well as the Theodore Presser Prize for Outstanding Undergraduate Achievement in Composition. After graduating, he leapt into composition and began to develop the lyrical, flowing style that we see from him today. Adamo was the composer in residence at the New York City Opera from 2001 to 2006, where he led the Vox Showcasing American Composers program. In May of 2003, he served as master artist at Atlantic Center for the Arts. Since 2007, he has served as the principal teacher of American Lyric Theater's Composer Librettist Development Program in New York, in which he coaches teams of composers and librettists in developing their work for the stage. He is currently living in New York with his husband, composer John Corigliano, and is a professor of music composition at New York University's Steinhardt School of Culture, Education, and Human Development. Adamo is actively composing and directing operas, as well as chamber, symphonic, and choral works. Adamo is primarily known for his grand American operas. His first opera, Little Women, is one of the most frequently performed American operas of the last 15 years, with over 80 different performances spanning the globe. His next opera, Lysistrata, is a comedic work that was met with enthusiasm and delight. Alex Ross of The New Yorker announced that this work was a sumptuous love story poised between comedy and heartbreak. Adamo's latest operas, The Gospel of Mary Magdalene and Becoming Santa Claus, have both received as much acclaim from critics and audiences alike. The subtle humor and intense beauty and lyricism in these works make Adamo a well-loved name in the modern operatic world. Although Adamo is mainly known for his operatic works, he has also written a variety of chamber, symphonic, and choral compositions. Late Victorians is a 25-minute chamber work for singer, speaker, and chamber orchestra. Four Angels is Adamo's first concerto and is written for harp and orchestra. Alcott Music is a beautiful piece for strings and percussion, which delves upon the musical themes utilized in his opera Little Women. Adamo has quite a few compositions that draw upon his Catholic tradition, such as his Regina Caeli for harp and strings, and his Cantate Domino for choir, piano, and a soprano soloist. His choral works, such as Garland, Matawan Music, and The Poet Speaks of Praising, are all commonly performed in professional American choirs today. Adamo is particularly proud of his song cycle, The Racer's Widow, in which he set 5 poems by female American poets for mezzo-soprano, piano, and cello to perform. When asked about his musical style, Adamo humorously responded, "What's your style?" is a famously unanswerable question. However, this composer's lyricism, attention to prosody, and beautiful melodies shine through every piece that he writes. In an interview with Jenna Simonov, Adamo discussed what he considered to be the primary elements of his style. Adamo stated, "I want my music to sound as if it is as if it is generated by the character who's singing it, rather than generated by some preconceived orchestral plot or procedure." This quote reveals Adamo's deep attention to the humanity of a piece, particularly in the context of his operatic works. He doesn't include musical themes in an opera just to include a theme or even to tie the work together. He includes it because the character demands it. In this portion of the aria, Things Change, Joe, from his opera Little Women, listen for the sweeping orchestral line combined with the conjunct and excited vocal line. This is a primary theme throughout the opera, but is generated solely from the character's intense and joyful explanation of why she must leave her home and family to follow her path of love.
I can't explain, Joe. I love you. Things that flow. Things change, Joe.
Adamo's style is characterized by a deep and abiding sense of prosody. He elaborated, saying, "I love when words, voice, line, and harmony seem to fuse, seem to become one thing, more than I love hearing text being set like shoes in cement." Listen for this Hugo Wolf-esque text setting in this selection from Adamo's The Gospel of Mary Magdalene, in which he utilizes speech-like rhythms with a sweet vocal line and a soft orchestra line in order to create a great sense of vulnerability. The composer continues elaborating on his style, saying, "It is certainly true that I refuse to use 1,000 notes if I can tell the truth with 2. This concept of not overly texturizing or overwriting music is particularly palpable in Adamo's chamber and symphonic works. Although Adamo writes lush compositions and textures, he always composes in such a way that the soloist is heard and admired. Listen in his Four Angels Concerto for harp and orchestra, how he highlights the delicate texture of the harp by not overwhelming it with background material. This concept of refusing to use 1,000 notes to tell the story can also be applied toward his use of thematic material. Adamo utilizes recognizable themes and develops them masterfully, but he does not develop them for such an extensive amount of time that his audiences get bored and begin to stop listening. Each theme exists only until there's a beautiful place to transition to the next. Finally, Adamo states, also, as a composer, I'm not a brute. Also, as a composer, I don't pummel. Shall we leave it at that? Adamo's sensitivity to music, to poetic and auditory expression, is peerless and wonderful. I wanted to conclude this presentation with Adamo's advice for students who are interested in becoming composers. Adamo advises, write. You'll never get to the good pieces if you don't get the not-so-good ones out of your system. Write from love. Write for friends. Write for friends you love. Your life in music is yours alone to create. Another's success doesn't defeat you. Another's failure doesn't validate you. Always believe two things. One, that you have something. And two, there's always more to learn.